Thank you, sir. I'll do it within 10 minutes. Uh, Good afternoon to everybody, ladies and gentlemen. My endeavor before you is not only to talk about law and development alone, but from the point of individual nation, how these to be implemented. As you have seen, the title of the conference itself is Madras Development on the one hand and World Tamil Conference on the other. These put together, if you see, there is a territorial interest that is lying everywhere. People who live in Chennai or Tamil Nadu, they would like to have the development that is confined to them and to the state. You would have seen a lot of dispute between the state itself in India, where people are fighting and the government itself is being changed. In this scenario, I would like to point out certain apprehension that if the law alone has taken the front line in development of, I don't say it is a country, but industry, whatever way you took it. See, I don't know whether how many of you are aware of this thing. There is one thing that is very important is about the evolution of the East Indian Company, which came to India for doing only business, and later how it changed into a ruler of our nation for so many years. And it took a lot of pain and sacrifice to get independence. As the other day, the speaker, our minister also said, the people of Tamil Nadu who went around the world and suffered and sacrificed to come up to this stage. Then the next step is about the world, that is two world war wherein there is a multilateral treaty that supposed to be came into existence, that's called a General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, where the developed countries are the main participant and three institutions are developed. One is the International Monetary Fund and the other is World Bank, and the third and the most important is International Trading Organization, WTO, ITO. And these three things were approved for more than 43 countries, and it was sent approved for US alone. See, as far as the application of international treaty and other things, in Indian Constitution, there is a provision that we will have to necessarily incorporate into the municipal law. As far as American Constitution is concerned, it requires to be approved by the Senate and other forum. Only then the question of making it law will come into play. So when these three institutions went to approval for the American Senate approved World Bank and International Monetary Fund, and they did not agree or approve the creation of the International Trade Organization, that is for the purpose of 53 countries together. So the agreement that is supposed to become a treaty could not happen, become a legal effect, but in de facto, it was administered because the other countries mostly followed it. After 36 years, the American economy developed so well, and they found that product and manufacturing substantially fulfilled their market and people, and they want to expand the market. Then they took up this International Trade Organization because already the International Monetary Fund and World Bank were established, and they took over this International Trade Organization and they moved forward. Doing that, there is a problem of the other countries to convince, so they renamed this International Trade Organization into service also. By that process, they come up with the discussion stating that this is a new type of agreement. It is not tariff alone. It deals with intellectual property rights, service, and other things and all. Believe me, it took more than 8 years for other developing countries to approve it. And at one stage, as Secretary General of the WTO, which is to be constituted, called all the developing nations to say that either you agreed for this proposal or you get out of the organization. That is the only end. So India signed the treaty and become the World Trade Organization, came into effect on 1/1/95. In one of the features, why I am telling this history is the economic development should not be seen as an individualistic one. The law must be regulated. In patent law, there is one provision which is with regard to process patent, how a patent is to be granted for process patent. It is there after two Supreme Court judges gone into the matter, Diction Committee and the Rajagopal Iyengar Committee, which gave a report to the Parliament that the India is required to follow process patent and not product patent. But in the World International Treaty, wherein we are signed and become a party, this process patent was changed into product patent. The only blessing or the consolation that the developed countries always give to the developing nation is, you want 10 years, take 10 years. You want 15 years, you take 15 years. You want 20 years, 20 years. But you sign the treaty and one day it will become a law. So 1195 we agreed, and 2005 it has come into law. In between, the history is very distinct. That is, when the Congress was in power, they moved the approval. BJP rejected it. When BJP came to power, Congress rejected it. But ultimately, the ultimate end is that is the 2005 midnight. It has been notified through presidential order and it came into effect. So why I am telling you was, when this discussion happened, our people who participated did not approach anything with regard to geographical indication. Whereas the France which participated came up to the proposal of wine and grapes, they got patent. When we objected saying that we got many things, the WTO, that is a developed nation, simply say, all right, go and incorporate in your municipal law and get out. So these are all things happened. I remember, but it is only this thing, 20 years ago when I attended a conference, that is only 11 nations participant represented. In the middle of the meeting, one WTO executive came in and said, why you are discussing about the pros and cons of WTO and all, it is already become a law, you please go ahead with the implementation. There are 11 countries, including our participants, 2 in number, but nobody talked to him, everybody was silent. But only the representative from Brazil said, who are you to interfere? This is an international member country meeting. Do you remember there is a provision in the WTO with regard to review mechanism? That's what we are discussing. That's why we are talking about the pros and cons. This is the status of this, that is the law implementation mechanism. Then comes the other factor is, with all these things, how do you go about it? We are all talking about development. You know, all that is Mukesh Ambani is one of the first and the biggest industrialists. He complained to the state government that there is no level playing field in Indian business sector. If he himself claimed there is no level playing field, how will you make it level? How do you make it all these things? And America, by this time, that is from 1995 to this date, it's more than 20 years, 25 years, they achieved the target of reaching the developing nations fully. And all the municipal laws of developing nations are changed. Then now they slowly found that we are also developing. As the other people are telling about Mr. Jam Veeramani and Mr. Viswanathan and other people who participated, they slowly became aware and understood the concept of business and the way it is to be approached. We started developing, compete with them. At that time, the American, that is Donald Trump, Trump himself said, there's no point of being a member in the WTO, we want to get out. If it's not useful to us, we'll get out. When you go to World Health Organization, you are now fully aware that they are not informed us about the COVID and all, there's no point in having WTO also. See, these are all the situations that is happening in the worldwide. If you look upon the development that is economic alone and investment, say for example, there are 3, I don't want to name it, there are 3 companies that is running in India, which reached to the state of 4,000 crore loss. But they are running the show, and the fact is the salary is not reduced, the expenditure is not reduced. But how will they match this 4,000 crore loss? Our company, including many of the hotel industry, we had food in President Hotel. He said it will take 4 years for the hotel industry to come back. But what is the role of the government? It is not the law that can reciprocate the economic development or facilitate the comeback. It is for the government to take measures. I know there is a new law which says that in those days, the complaint of the developing country is India, the law is very slow. So the judges, I'm sorry that my judge this thing also is there. So they took it as if it is slow because of them. They try to fasten it. See, in one day, I know one time all WMPs were posted in 21st court, and the only question whether notice is, sir will know. Notice issued or replied, dismissed, applied, dismissed, dismissed, dismissed. Thousands of cases were disposed of in days. But what is the consequence? The people who waited for years were thrown out of court in single shot. See, the law on the one hand and the economic development on the other cannot be looked upon equally or simultaneously. That is my apprehension or my approach to the issue. Law, if it is possible, it has to help when the economy is in difficult situation, to my knowledge, I am a practice lawyer in income tax. There are a lot of benefits that is given under the Income Tax Act. To my knowledge, only those industries who are developed or who are in that particular sector alone is benefited. I know I myself is a executive in Institute of Directors, wherein my people are here. We are conducting seminars for middle and this small sector and all. But to my knowledge, I am frank that what benefit you can give. See, now hotel industries have gone and the service sector has gone. All these things now I come to understand the robotic sector, if you come into play, even the employees will lose. Now from home work, if you go to Solinganallur side, the entire areas are vacant. How will you reciprocate all these things? Unless all these things are made possible. And one other thing why I am giving the example is when the developing countries compete with the developed countries, developed countries say we will get out. And one other example, when I studied WTO, I always compared it with the European Union concept, wherein one coin, one nation, where they try to adopt one currency. That's what the WTO also trying. As far as the world, the United States and other countries are concerned, European Union is a model code. With that one, they are going to the for 163 countries are member countries. This is how they are modifying it. See, now if you go to European Union, United Kingdom has gone out. Why they gone out? Because by that European Union concept, all the European countries can move to one country to another. So they all occupied. All people have gone to United Kingdom for employment. So they said that there is no point. This law is against us. So if you look upon many things where WTO is against you, how will you handle it? Suppose if these countries have gone out, then how will you do the rectification? Is it possible once you go into it? The latest move, one Manad is there, where the time loop is there and all, where can you go back? With all these things only, the country or the government that is running the show, who is the authority for law only, not for development. They can help development, but law is their authority. So the administration must take into account the protectionism that is America now has started. The protectionism play a major role in enacting laws. Otherwise, the laws are happening that is because of the COVID cannot be solved. That is my humble representation before this August body. I thank Dr. V.R. Sambat, who is always give a helping hand and give me an opportunity. But for him, I will not speak in any seminars. I don't like also. Thank you all.